The tide is coming in. The landscape is changing fast. Ground you once thought was solid is now swept quickly from under your feet. You can feel the old timeline collapsing. It's uncomfortable. It's inevitable. If this reading showed up for you, it's not random. You're here because you're a true seeker. The universe has a message for you. Pick your pile. So I want you to pick a pile, whichever one is speaking to you. We have the Rider-Waite on the left, the Wildwood Tarot in the middle, and the Thoth deck on the right. Next, I'm going to do a reading with each one of these decks, and so whichever deck you pick, that is going to be your message from the universe. So let's see. First up, the Rider-Waite deck, pile 1, deck 1. So these cards are pre-shuffled. We're going to pull out a couple of lines and just see what they're saying. So what I'm getting here is that you're not feeling like yourself. You're feeling a little disintegrated at the moment, a little ambivalent, like you have to choose between one way of being or another. Maybe you're at odds with yourself. And I think that's because you had some idea in your head about what the good life was supposed to look like, what the dream of success and emotional fulfillment, a happy family, a steady career, whatever it is for you. You had that dream, but now it's looking different than you expected. That dream is coming to look like a fantasy, and that's really thrown you for a loop. Because now, whether you've achieved that, whether you're on the path to achieving that or not, it's not looking the way that you expected it to. Either, as I already said, you're realizing that it was and it is and was always a fantasy. Or perhaps maybe you are realizing a little bit of that good life and it just doesn't feel the way that you thought it was going to feel. Instead of feeling free, instead of feeling enlivened by the success that you've had, you're feeling chained by it. You're feeling contained by it. You're feeling inhibited, prohibited. You're feeling unfree, which is exactly the opposite of how you would like to feel and how you had expected to feel. Well, that means it's time to start asking questions. And you wouldn't be here if you weren't asking questions. Let's let the deck talk. What I'm getting actually with this Seven of Wands is that you're willing to give up everything that you've gotten so far. The battles that you've won, the achievements that you have already completed. You're like, honestly, fuck it. Like, I don't even care. I want something new. Like I said, things are changing for you. The way you feel about your life's path is changing. And like what used to matter just doesn't matter anymore. And you're like, fuck it. Take it. You know, you don't have anything to defend as far as you're concerned because these things don't mean anything to you. The Tower flipped itself over in the deck. Yeah, you're definitely experiencing like a mental tower moment, you know? Like, it's not that you lost your job or got fired or got broken up with or there was some kind of disaster, the turning of the wheel of fate and you're now expected to deal with it. It's like from the outside everything looks fine, like people probably envy your success and your stability, but on the inside it's eating you alive. It is that very stability that's making you feel stifled and like you have no room to move or grow or be yourself, which is why you want to give it all up. So that tower moment is like completely invisible to others, or at least others who don't know you intimately. Oh, these guys fell out as well, so. Seven of Cups upright, Eight of Wands reversed, and the Knight of Wands upright. As I was already saying, you are taking a moment to slow down and say, wait, what is it that's even important to me? Because you might have just been on this conveyor belt, this treadmill. You've been on a treadmill towards the good life, towards this prescribed version of what success and achievement looks like. This may be the first time that you've ever stopped, looked back, and thought, how did I get here? And is this even where I want to be going? Where is this treadmill going? Well, what's at the end of this conveyor belt? So you're taking a moment to reevaluate what's important to you so that you can return again with a new vigor once you know the direction that you'd really like to be moving in. Because I think ultimately you would like for your work to have purpose and meaning. You'd like for it to come from the heart. You would like for the work you do in the world to come from an emotionally centered place. You've had enough of feeling like this, like you were before, that ambivalence, that feeling like maybe there's two sides to you and they don't meet anywhere in the middle. Your spiritual side and, sort of you as a workhorse, your mundane side. You're sick of feeling like those are separate people that live inside of you, because the truth is they're not. They're two sides of the same coin, and you're really on a journey to reintegrate that. So what's changing for you is that reintegration is the change that you're going through right now. Can we get some advice and guidance from the deck as we're going through this change? The Star comes out immediately. The Six of Pentacles and the Knight of Swords. The Star is all about reintegration. It's all about finding that balance between the earthly world and the emotional, spiritual world, and how the flow between them sustains life. The Star then is sort of a symbol of that reintegrated state that you're moving towards. This change that you're going through is going to require you to maybe rethink your relationship with money or resources, more broadly speaking. You're going to have to hold them more loosely. You're going to have to be willing to let things come and go as they will. You're going to have to let the universe provide for you. You're going to have to let go of the reactionary impulse to hoard resources or hoard money as you are bringing in less, because you're a person who is probably used to making money. Like, that's part of what success looked like to you. So you're really going to have to fight that urge to believe that just because you're bringing in less money, that means you are less successful. Because the truth is, we're rethinking what our definition of success is. And you're quite literally right in the middle of that process of redefining your ideology, not only of success, but of fulfillment. It's going to be whatever you want it to be. You're writing the book. You're writing the book. You're making the meaning. Is there anything else we need to know? Final message from the tarot deck about how to weather this change that is upon us. I'm going to take a liberty in my interpretation of this one, and I'm going to compare it to how you're feeling now in the middle of this process. I want you to change the Two of Swords into the Two of Wands. Here's what I mean. With the Two of Swords, I'm getting that you're feeling like it is either or. It's black and white. It's choose one, and that shuts the door completely off to the other. I think a healthier way for you to perceive your options at this time are that you have a plethora of options. It's not either or. It's yes and, right? Yes and. So heading in one direction is not going to completely cut off all other paths. In fact, taking a step towards a decision that you feel like is coming from a place of heart-centeredness is actually going to open up a lot more doors for you. And those old paths that you made, you're not burning that bridge, okay? Those old paths are still going to exist, and you can always go back. Yeah, so a healthier way to look at things at this point is to try to get out of that black and white thinking and really see the world as open before you with possibility, because it is. Okay, deck 2. You're here because the Wildwood Tarot is speaking to you. We've got the Four of Wands reversed, the Eight of Pentacles reversed, and the Six of Bows upright. Have you started something new? Learning a new skill, perhaps? And I'm getting the feeling that you're not that good at it, and that bothers you. Because maybe you're used to being good at stuff, and you don't really do things you're not good at. This is new for you, doing something that you're not good at, but that's good for you. That is so good for you. Ultimately, you will succeed. You know, practice makes perfect. I think it's good for you to get, dare I say, taken down a notch, taken down a peg real quick. Just remember that, like, nobody's born being good at stuff. Like, everybody has to work for put in those 10,000 hours, you know? Yeah, this is really interesting with the reversals and stuff. Like, whatever you're doing now, you're really swimming upstream. You're doing it because you think it's the right thing to do. You're feeling compelled to do it, but not because it's easy. That's for sure. This is not something that you're doing just because you're going with the flow. It's the exact opposite of that. Like I said, I think you're used to things being pretty easy, and the fact that this isn't is very different for you, and it's throwing you for a loop, probably more mentally and emotionally than anything else. You know, actually practicing and doing the skill, I mean, that's half the battle. Where the war is really going to be won is in your mind when you go home from work at night and you're sitting there thinking about how the day went. That's where the real struggle is for you at this moment. I think you're wondering if it's more work than it's worth, and I'm inclined to say the answer to that is no, but only you're really going to know. I think you feel really lost right now because you're wondering why you don't feel called the way that you think people are supposed to feel called. You think people are born knowing what they're good at, and that conditions the whole rest of their life and their, specifically their career trajectory. That, like, you were supposed to be, you know, that when a 5-year-old says, I want to be a fireman, that he knows what he's talking about and he is divinely called to be a fireman. You're wondering, like, why that's missing for you. And I just want to reframe that a little bit and let you know that I think that idea is what's wrong. That idea is what needs to change. You might be surprised to hear that for most people, it doesn't work that way. Most people aren't born playing the guitar straight out the womb, whatever, child prodigy. Like, most of us aren't living that life. Most of us experiment here and there. We find out, oh, I'm kind of good at drawing. I'm kind of good at math. Like, maybe I'll just see where this takes me. Maybe you follow it down a path a little ways, and then you realize that it's no fun and you want to do something else, and you head back down the path, and you change your major or whatever it is. That's how most of us live. Most of us try a few things before we find something that clicks. And even when it clicks, again, it's not the sense of immediate competency and confidence. It can really be a struggle. I think that's normal. It's normal to struggle with our medium because that's how we get better. That's how we gain skill. And I understand the impatience with that process. That's what it is. That discomfort that you're experiencing, it's an impatience that you're going through that process right now. You feel like there's just nothing for you. You must be broken. You must be the one who was born without a calling. No, again, that's what everyone's struggling with. That's what 99% of the people on this earth are struggling with. Which way do I go? This way or that? Two of Wands, Nine of Cups reversed, and Three of Wands. Here's your journey to picking a path, to finding a path that will fulfill you. It's the Nine of Cups reversed right in the middle here. What does that mean? Honestly, what I think it means in this reading for you is that you are under the impression that you don't deserve good things, that you don't deserve to pursue a path of fulfillment. Maybe you're afraid to get in there and experiment until you find something that really and truly feels good. You probably have some kind of mental block. Maybe it was the way you were raised, or maybe just all the trials and tribulations you've been through as an adult, but there's part of you that feels like you don't deserve happiness. You don't deserve to find work that feels fun and fulfilling. I think you think that work has to be a struggle. Maybe for other people, as I mentioned, you see these prodigies and you think, wow, that must be nice. That must be nice to have a calling and to feel fulfilled, but that's not for me. That's the mental block that you're going to have to dissolve in order to be in alignment with the changes that are happening. Five of Pentacles, endurance. This is how you see the world. You think this is you. This is how you see yourself. Just barely getting by, kind of a victim of circumstance. You're afraid to wish for good things. And I understand why, because you feel very insecure. You feel insecure in this physical world, physically in the world. There's a lot of scary things going on and you're all alone. That's how you feel. But I want you to take a step back and ask yourself, how true is that vision? Is it true that you're all alone? Is it raining? Is there a thunderstorm going on right now? Or are you just remembering? Are you remembering what it feels like to be sitting in the storm? Because that's what trauma does, right? It locks you into that mindset. So I want you to reevaluate that mindset and say, hey, maybe there was a good reason for me to see the world that way. Maybe it was protective. Maybe I don't like to get my hopes up, because one time I got my hopes up and then the rug was ripped right out from under me and that hurt really bad. I understand that where you're coming from, but I need you to remember that you're not living in that moment anymore. This is a new moment. So let's go ahead and assess conditions as they exist in the present tense and then take it from there. I think number 21, the World Tree in this deck, is trying to tell us to look at the seasons of our life, because the only constant is change. Taking it back to the Five of Pentacles, like I was just talking about. And just because it rained on you last night doesn't mean it's going to rain on you tonight. When we're taking things one day at a time, we can see the cycles and how a lack at one time is not an eternal lack. Just because there's no leaves on the tree in the winter doesn't mean that we'll never have leaves again. That's the way it's supposed to be. There's supposed to be no leaves in the winter so that they can sprout again in the spring, right? There's a reason, okay? So we have to widen our perspective, though, to see that. If all we can see is our little cave, our little moment, what's hurting us right now, then yeah, you're going to be justified in your victimhood. Let's put it that way. But if you can zoom out and gain a broader perspective and understand that life just has its ebbs and flows and its ups and downs, and that the wheel will turn and you will live to see another day, and you can make each day better than the last with conscious effort. That's the message the World Tree wants to give us, to bear in mind as we're working through this moment where things are feeling hard. But just to take it all the way back, yeah, I want to say stick with it. Whatever this new skill is, this new job, whatever this new thing is that you're doing, just stick with it, because practice really does make perfect, and you will get there. Okay, deck 3, 'tis the Thoth for thee. Tell me about the changes we're going through right now. Things are good. Things are stable in terms of your material needs, but you're still not happy, and you want to know why. King of Pentacles reversed, 10 of Swords reversed, Ace of Wands reversed. Okay, with this bottom row, I might take this reading in a whole nother direction, as a matter of fact, because the energy that I'm getting is sort of a jealousy and a pettiness over here, because the Four of Pentacles can be about holding things too tight. Greed. When people have something that you want, or something you think they have something they don't deserve, that pisses you off. That's what I'm getting from you here. And if you can't be happy, no one can be happy. You've got all these daggers, you got all these excuses. You make excuses for yourself for why you can't do what they're doing, and then you've got all these hating ass excuses about why they're not as good as people think they are, and like you're kind of like the definition of a hater. I'm so sorry to tell you, but that's what's I'm not accusing anyone of anything, but that is what I'm seeing here in the cards. That's what I see. You're going through a period of haterdom right now. How about that? And it's really interesting because you're so smart. It's coming from like a very intelligent place, a place where you're like, well, if they only, I know better than them, and they're not doing it right, and this, and that, and oh, well, I could never do that because I'm too self-aware, and I would never be willing to, whatever. You've got a million excuses, like I said, but it doesn't. I always say this with the Queen of Swords. It doesn't matter. It's like, cool, you're right, but you're alone. Like, you're right, but you're unhappy. So like, what good is it doing you? You're right, but your creative spark is completely stifled. You've snuffed out your creative spark with all your excuses and all your pettiness. So that's not a good place to be. I know it doesn't feel good. Yeah, again with the Nine of Swords, you're sort of creating a nightmare for yourself. I guess the question that I have is like, why? Where is this coming from? Like I said, I'm not accusing you of like, you weren't born a hater, but you're going through a period of haterdom. So what's triggering that, and how can we get out of it? That's what I want to know. My guess is that you don't really like change, and maybe you're having a hard time accepting the way that the world is changing around you, because you have less of a willingness or ability to adapt. Like, you can adapt, you will adapt, but it kind of like hurts you a little bit. It's not like your nature. But look at these cards. Wow. You have 8 of Wands here, swiftness. You have the Magician upside down, and you have the Ace of Swords upright. So if you're willing to change, the universe will help you. The wind is at your back, if you will. But right now I'm getting that you don't know your own power. You kind of don't believe it. Like, you make excuses and you drink the haterade because you somewhere deep down don't believe in yourself. And you're jealous of other people's ability to either believe in themselves or to like leap regardless, like even when they don't believe in themselves, they'll do it anyway. And I think you kind of like wish you had some of that. You're self-aware to a fault, right? That self-awareness holds you back because you're always thinking about what other people are going to think or say about you. You need to let that go. You need to say, who the fuck cares? That's what I'm getting from this Ace of Wands. Who cares? You know, I've got an idea and I'm going to pursue it, and I don't give a fuck what anybody has to say about it. That's so freeing. Consider this sword to be the sword that cuts you free. It cuts you free from, let's call it rejection sensitivity. You know, that's where the hate comes from. That's where being a hater comes from. You just like, you're afraid. You're like a little teeny tiny little meek thing in the corner, just afraid to express yourself. And that's why you get so jealous when other people do it. And especially when you think there's people who are like less good at what they're doing than you would be. Well, then go out there and prove it to somebody. Prove it to yourself that you've got what it takes to follow your own spark. Now, just because I'm nosy, I just really want to know, like, what is it that you wish that you want to do? Like, that you're, what's going on in there? This idea, this creative expression that you want to move on, but you're too afraid to. I mean, whatever it is, this is a great sign. Ace of Cups upright, Four of Cups reversed, and Eight of Cups upright. There's a sense of wanting to follow your heart, you know, a new vibration. You've got a new vibration coming from the center of your body, of your being, which is so good because the old vibration was like so low you could barely even hear it anymore. And you're getting out of that with the Eight of Cups here. You've woken up, you know, you said, oh my God, my pulse is weak and I've got to do something about that. That's what I'm getting from the Four of Cups reversed, a weak pulse. You've got to find this Ace of Cups. You've got to get that blood pumping again. See, that's the thing is, I don't think that you know yet what is going to get that blood pumping, but you're desperate. That's why I think now finally you are willing to make a change, because you feel like if you don't make a change, you might literally die. Like that spark of life that lives inside you might just go out. So what you're jealous of is when you see people living in a way that their joy is just radiating from them, like that pisses you off. That pisses you off because you want that. You want that, and you haven't been experiencing that. You haven't been allowing yourself to experience that. Remember, it's going to be about what you allow. So if you can prioritize that feeling above all else, it's going to make you healthier mentally and physically. Thought we'd get a little bonus reading going for everyone who's still here. We haven't heard from the tarot of the she yet today, and we know she's always got something to say. So this is going to be a little extra special message for the entire collective, whether you pick deck 1, deck 2, or deck 3. This is going to be something that all of us can learn from. So 3 of Pentacles, 6 of Cups, and King of Pentacles. What I'm getting from this immediately is that hard work that comes from a place of heart-centeredness is completely unstoppable. You've got the skill, the work ethic, and let's call it the divine guidance that you need to be a success in whatever it is that you do. So even though you may be feeling discombobulated at the moment, it's nothing to worry about. That's just what change feels like, and change is a necessary part of life. The good news is that you're evolving. You're stepping up into something bigger and better, something more aligned, something that feels more fulfilling. And you can be absolutely sure of that because for once you're feeling like you're taking your own guidance. You finally feel like you're on a path that you've chosen for yourself. Since you're not used to doing that, since you're used to doing what you're told, that might feel really uncomfortable. You might be second guessing yourself. You might be doubting yourself. But time will tell. And once you start to prove to yourself that victory is possible, one little step at a time, once you win your first battle, the war itself is going to start looking more and more winnable.